Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another video for Monster Hunter Rise, and today I want to talk about a few things that we've learned about the game from a recent interview with IGN. If you guys caught our video the other day, then you'll know that of course IGN have got their first this month where they'll be kind of speaking about Monster Hunter Rise, sharing some gameplay, talking with developers, basically just kind of giving us some new information about the game ahead of launch next month. We already spoke about the new Somnacanth gameplay, which they uploaded on the Frost Islands. If you haven't seen that, I'll link it down below. But this time, they dropped an interview with the director, Ichinose-san, and he spoke a little bit about sort of the design philosophy behind the game, but he also spoke about a few more quality of life changes coming that, I thought we'd discuss, because I appreciate some people might like these, some people might not, but basically it all revolves around making the game a little bit more accessible to new players. So if you guys do enjoy this video, a like would be super appreciated. As always, let me know your thoughts on this down below. And I've also got a video dropping this weekend where we'll actually be speaking a little bit more so about this topic following on from the community poll, which if you haven't voted on, by the way, you can click in the description box down below or the comments down below. It'll be pinned. Anyway, starting off with the interview, I'll link the whole thing down below if you guys want to read it in its entirety, but one of the first things, kind of just an interesting anecdote, was that Rise was actually initially developed much more like a traditional Monster Hunter game, like the older Monster Hunter games, should I say, because Rise was actually being developed before World was even out. So when they first started working on it, they actually built it with sort of segmented loading zones for maps, a la kind of the traditional Monster Hunter games before World. But they said during development, what with seeing the kind of growing population of open maps paired with the fact that World then went on to do so well with its open maps, they then took on the challenge to update the game so that it fell more in line with the sort of current games, with sort of what people have come to expect, and of course with World, which honestly I'm super happy to hear because, I love the old Monster Hunter games, but I do really appreciate open maps, just, from the sense of kind of exploration, just being able to run seamlessly without having to kind of go into a loading zone. I mean, loading zones, I'm not going to lie, they were kind of useful back in the day. They did save your life. Sometimes if you were about to get clapped and you just rolled out the zone, it was useful, but then equally, sometimes you got knocked out the zone when you didn't mean to. Anyway, point is, open maps, it was a thing that they hadn't originally planned, but of course they did now put it in place. However, then in the interview, they went on to kind of talk about some of the quality of life changes that of course have still made it over into Rise, things that of course were introduced in World. They said we do still have things like wish lists, which I love that system. I know we had it to kind of a degree beforehand, but the system they introduced in World where you can add a lot of items to your wish list, and of course as you're farming, as you're like carving the parts, you get little pop-ups on screen saying, hey, you're 2 parts away or 1 part away. I love that system. It's fantastic. Really nice for just kind of keeping track of stuff. So wish lists are in Rise. We of course also have the ability to return to camp. We know that much already. And they also confirmed that the expanded weapon trees that of course World introduced are also going to be in Rise as well, which is always useful because again, if you guys haven't played previous Monster Hunter games, back in the day you kind of had to spec and craft into a tree to start revealing what it had. Whereas, of course, now in World, they introduced the ability to just like see the expansive tree and see where things go. There are still some question marks on there, obviously, but just kind of being able to see that and work out where you want to spend your points and where you want to spend your materials is definitely very useful. On that note, when it comes to upgrading stuff, Ichinose-san actually said that he really hopes in this game that players take the time to learn more weapons. He said he appreciates that some people just like to master 1 or 2 weapons and become, like really, really good with that weapon, but he really wants to encourage people to be able to just pick up any of the 14 weapons and have some fun with them. And in order to do that, what they've actually done is they've said, as a quality of life improvement, they've reduced the number of materials you'll need to upgrade weapons. Now, I appreciate this is going to be a divide because, of course, upgrading weapons, crafting gear, this kind of stuff is ultimately what keeps us playing the game. So if suddenly it's incredibly easy to upgrade something, you do then start to think, well, hold on a minute, what's going to keep me grinding? That being said, when you think about, the sheer number of monsters, right now, I think last time I did that video, I think there's about 26 so far. I imagine we'll probably get something like, 30, maybe 35 monsters. When you think about that number of monsters, multiply that by the number of weapons, number of armor sets, there's going to be plenty of stuff to craft. Now, yes, one of the things that obviously keeps us playing is the idea of farming materials. And back in like older games, you often needed to kind of farm for quite some time. Sometimes you'd need to get materials from multiple different monsters for just like, even the smallest of things. So potentially reducing that does of course reduce the grind ever so slightly, but the idea behind it, of course, as Ichinose said, is that he wants to encourage people to play more weapons. So if suddenly you kind of come back and you like, I don't know, you're a dual blade user and you make your Somnacanth dual blades and you're like, oh, yo, that hunting horn looks kind of cool. But then you're like, I don't want to go and farm another 6 times to go and get the materials. Now suddenly if you can kind of go and do that, then it might make it easier to just pick up and dabble in multiple different weapons. I'm interested to sort of see how it is. I don't imagine it's going to be like so small where it's like you just need one scale to upgrade this. I don't think they're going to go that crazy, but he did say they've reduced the number of materials required for upgrades. Also noting, he said for upgrades, he didn't say for crafting, so I imagine there'll still be the kind of, default or kind of decent prerequisite to actually craft the weapon, and following on from there, upgrading might just be a little bit quicker. Again, we'll have to wait and see until we get access to the full game. Additionally, one thing that I actually confirmed back in my interview that I had with Ichinose and Ryozo a little while ago, I managed to confirm that, of course, the village quests and the sort of split guild quests will be returning. But in the IGN interview, they then wanted to say that Ichinose-san is going to use that as a means to kind of help newer players get into the series. He said that village quests, if you look back at previous games, village quests were always the easier ones. It was like village was kind of what you do and then you go to the guild quests. But he said specifically village quests will be easier this time, so if you are a new player, that's a good place to start. Again, for those of you that didn't play previous games, village quests are quests you have to do solo. They are like the story missions. And then you have the guild quests, whereas in World, of course, everything was multiplayer, after, of course, you watch the cutscenes. Some people might like that, some people might not. They might be like, I don't want to do like a portion of the game solo. It's what they've decided to do. But regardless, the idea is that village quests will definitely be much more easy, so that it'll kind of be your entry point if you are newer to the series. And then, of course, outside of that, you go and do your guild quests, your multiplayer quests, which will give you your greater challenges. And that, my friends, is pretty much it for the time being. That is a little look at what we have so far. I will throw one additional clip. They dropped another clip on social media yesterday showing off the actually taking your buddies, your palicos and your palamutes, and sending them off on little expeditions to go and farm your materials. I love the way the palamute is just strapped to like the kite. It's just like, nah! It's brilliant. But yeah. I'll just throw this in here so you guys can sort of see it if you missed it yesterday, but that is a look at what we'll be doing with some of our companions. That's why we'll be kind of recruiting more cats, recruiting more palicos, or palamutes should I say, so that we can use them for this. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below, let me know what you think about some of these different topics, and of course keep it locked for plenty more Rise coverage. If you want to catch more from us at Arekkz Gaming, don't forget you can catch the guys 269, Paradise Central and Investmore streaming over on Twitch weekdays, playing a variety of games. If you guys want to jump in, tune in, watch and even join in, then make sure you check them out. The links to those are in the description box down below, and of course you can join the Discord to get involved in all of the discussions.